All right, we're gonna get started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all y'all. This is our first call of February. Otherwise, it's still January, but whatever. Third call of the month. Just some quick updates on like general housekeeping. We are, of course, still working on in two tracks. One on the ETL itself that Peter is working on. We're also building out the protocol, which Neil is working on, and we'll have more details on both of those as we get further down the line on those. Hassan and his team are fast at work on building out new models for new protocols. So you can expect some updates to the risk terminal very soon. But the main focus of this call and sort of what we have as a team been focusing on the last week or so is this community project. We're really excited to get this going. I think it's the first sort of formalized engagement with the community that we've had as a project. And it's going to be a huge piece to us eventually decentralizing this entire thing and being able to scale our services appropriately. So, having said that, I wrote a blog post that sort of details how this engagement will work. It's this first link in the community call discussion. Feel free to pop that open. I'm just going to kind of walk y'all through that. So we started the risk library last year, at the end of last year. We had a in-depth report on Aave and Compound, specifically with VAR and LCR. You can read about those in the risk library. And we spent the next few months sort of tinkering with the structure and design until we found a structure that we think is easy to navigate, makes sense, makes it easy to find things that you're looking for. And I think we arrived at a pretty good solution. As you can see, we've divvied it up into analytics, frameworks, and then DeFi protocol taxonomy. So the analytics section is going to be where all the model sort of stuff lives. So for right now, that's pretty much living with our internal risk and research team. And as we complete our API, our data API, and other modelers can access well-structured data, this part's going to open up once that sort of thing happens. The frameworks, I think, is still internal for us. I know there's some insurance literature coming down the line. And then for Treasury, we currently just have our Treasury management solution that we actually put into practice, and we will be reporting on that, I believe, every month. But the focus of the community project and this call is the third section, which is DeFi protocol taxonomy. And basically what this is going to, we want this to ultimately be the number one place to go when you need information on a protocol in DeFi. So going a little further, I also shared a link to the protocol taxonomy template, which is what we're going to start with as far as community contributions. So I think I know it's a completely open public document. Anybody can go check it out and look at it. As the instructions in the blog post state, the way to do submissions here is you just take this template, you copy it, you fill it out on your own, and then you can submit it through the link that I'm about to share. One second. Yep, right there. The app.getbook link. You can go to that, and once you fill out the taxonomy, feel free to submit it. And that leads me to the next part of this process, which is the review and approval process of community submitted content. So one of the other links that I shared is the snapshot link, which is will take you to our third Credmark community governance vote. And this vote is to nominate or to solidify the review committee that we've put together, which consists of Matthias, Hassan, and Collier. And basically how this works is assuming that this vote passes, essentially once content is submitted, this committee will review that content for a variety of criteria. And if it passes, then that person who submitted it will receive a certain amount of rewards, credit, and their submission will be added to the risk library. So pretty straightforward. This vote will end at 5 a.m. February 1st Central Standard Time. So 15. I can't do math right now, but in the middle of the night tomorrow. So definitely, if you have XCMK or CMK, definitely go vote. I think the committee that we've nominated is pretty solid for now, and I think this committee is subject to change just based on the growth of this project and sort of just how things go over the next few weeks. I think our goal is to time box the first. Ultimately, this is going to be an ongoing project, so it's never going to really end. But we definitely want to make sure that what we have in place is working, and if it's not working, make changes. So I think we're going to let this run for 2 weeks and see what happens. So we want this to be sort of a quick iteration if it needs to change. So definitely check out the taxonomy. Make an attempt at making some contributions, and depending on how it goes, we'll reevaluate in 2 weeks on February 15th. And further than that, this taxonomy was designed to be it's designed to lower the barrier of entry for submissions. However, I totally expect that a lot of people in our community are pretty advanced. And if this template does not seem like if this template seems a little too simple or easy for what you have in mind, feel free to reach out and kind of propose your own sort of submission. If you want to write something that's totally not part of this taxonomy and is different in some way, feel free to reach out and see if that works. This is merely just to give people who are new or not as advanced a way to contribute. And if there's part of this taxonomy that you think could be changed or could be different, also feel free to reach out. This is by no means a permanent or set in stone template. And let's see what else. So yeah, that's basically where we're at. The first part of this is this vote. So I'd love to see anyone who has XCMK or CMK submit their vote. And then once that's done, in the risk library chat of the Credmark platform category, we can have all kinds of discussions about submissions, questions, and collaborations. I believe the idea is that every individual picks a protocol to fill this taxonomy out against. And I believe that Matthias will provide a list of protocols that we think are sort of the most urgent to get documentation on. So look out in the risk library chat over the next day or so for that list, and we will discuss that going forward. And then in 2 weeks we'll see what comes in. Our team is also actively submitting content to this library as well, and we'll be marketing sort of the submissions as they come in. Looks like Neil has something to say.
I'm just popping up to add some additional details to whatever you're talking about, but you've got it so far. So, one thing I will say, I think we're going to start this with 10,000 CMK monthly distributed to contributors to the risk library, and that will be based on how many of the merge requests get actually adopted into the risk library. Will be half of it, and the other half will be tips from the creators. So essentially when you click on the link that I think is in the community call discussion, you immediately get signed up to be an editor of our Git book. And so any of the editors, all of the merge requests that you'll submit will get tracked on our public GitHub for Credmark research. And so we can do a really quick at-a-glance accounting of that is totally transparent to everybody. Half of the rewards will be distributed just based on pure quantity of submissions, and then the other half will be distributed by our creator class, who we are voting on. And really, this community call is about that vote. Um, so yeah, Matthias is up here now.
I mean, Matthias, sorry for calling on you just sort of out of the blue. But so I'm looking at this link and I was wondering if you might be able to just talk through when someone clicks on this link for submission, sort of maybe just illuminate exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, actually, this link brings you directly to the Git book, so to the editor version of the Git book, and you then see the risk library and all the sections that are in there. And yeah, as you mentioned before, we would like to focus on the DeFi taxonomy. And you mentioned it earlier that that we thought about what protocols are the most interesting ones, and therefore I started already just creating blank pages where people just can look to. So we have these different categories like lending, like DEXs, like yield aggregators, and I'm simply started creating blank pages, and people can look at these pages and then say, yeah, okay, for example, Abracadabra or whatever is an interesting protocol. I know something about them, and I feel eager to contribute for this specific protocol. Then,
Awesome. That's good to know. How do we feel about, existing content in the library? If you look at it and you're like, well, this is not complete. This could be better. What's our stance on improving upon existing material?
yeah, this is the second good thing. As people when they use this link will have the so-called editor role, so editors can create these so-called change requests in Gitbook. So if you then click this button, you are able to edit content, and then we will get or the content creators will get an information, and then can review this content, and we can assess, okay, yeah, this makes sense, and then we can accept it and reward these additional contributions. So this is again something we really would like to see, that people are looking at content that isn't there already, but also the content that is there, and have a look at this as well, and maybe add some stuff or change some stuff. So that would be helpful as well. And I think you mentioned it as well. This is a living document, and it will never be complete. And there will be new versions of existing protocols that need then to be updated here as well. And I think this will be a process that will, be there for the rest of our life, so to say.
Yeah, that's the hope. We want this to be a permanent, durable product going forward. Thanks, Matthias. Appreciate that. Bob, how you doing?
Hello. Hi, fine, thanks. Yeah. Um, I've just got a question about prioritization. You said that you might produce a list of protocols which you want to prioritize. And how do we avoid two people working on the same one? Is there going to be kind of a sheet where you say, I'd like to work on this one, and then that's mine, or somebody will allocate it to you?
Matthias, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, actually, in an ideal world, I would suggest that people who pick protocol A just make a short announcement in the risk library chat, in the community chat, and say, hey, okay, I'm willing to contribute to protocol ABC, and then just let the community know, okay, there is somebody working on this. I'm not sure if this will figure out everything, and when we might have the situation that two people maybe contribute to the same project. But nevertheless, I think then it's up to us to review then both contributions, and decide ultimately what is working good and what was not so good.
Can I jump in just 1 second, because I do have an idea about that. This has crossed my mind, and I think that the way to make this as seamless as possible. This is kind of why when we were talking about how to reward people for this, we wanted to split it between, okay, we've got just like what is the number of contributions, and so that allows people who create stuff, who are editing other people's pages, maybe there's grammar mistakes, et cetera, et cetera. You just want to submit a change request, just so that these edits can be incorporated rather rapidly and asynchronously. But if we do have collisions, some of Gitbook does have built-in merge conflict resolution. So then both users would get credit for that as the conflict becomes resolved. And it would be up to our creators we are voting on today to like say, okay, it's not really fair that you guys got your rewards cut in half. We can give you each a little tip to kind of ease that collision a little bit. So from the rewards perspective, I think it can be taken care of with just some level of, subjective discretion, kind of splitting the difference on that while we're kind of getting our feet on the ground here.
Yeah, and again, the thing is why we're gonna, after 2 weeks, just evaluate that. By no means have we figured out the solution to every part of this, but my hunch is that we're not gonna have like hundreds of people submitting content just quite yet. So I think it'll be fairly easy to keep this organized over this initial start phase, and then we'll adjust as input from community grows, and we'll probably develop a system to track these kind of things. But for now, I think it'll be easy enough to maintain sort of manually.
Yeah, I've got two more questions. Is that all
Sure.
right? Can you submit for your own protocol? So it's not for me personally. This is for asking for a friend. One of the things you've listed, it's not actually a protocol. It's actually an index which is listed by another protocol, and he's quite interested in filling it out. But he is the owner of the index. Is that okay if he does that?
That's actually encouraged. We would love people from other protocols to talk about their protocol. I think that's something we really want to encourage. Is that right, Neil?
Yeah, and I mean, we were even planning on going to Discords of the people who know the most about these protocols, and can essentially like volunteer to add all the information about their protocols, maintain that information, because these things change quite frequently. So as new contracts get deployed, we want to say, oh, these are the different contract addresses, these are the different assets that are supported. We internally are not going to have the bandwidth to track all that stuff, but we do want to make sure that just to give everybody here a little more context, as we spin up the modeling platform, we're going to use this community generated risk library to essentially be able to say, hey, we have these different models that are showing these different pools, and even if you're not a modeler, you can contribute by saying, hey, we've added let's say Aave adds a new asset. If that's not being tracked in the model, we need to put that in the risk library first so that we have kind of a source of truth for whether or not the model is delivering exactly what we say it's delivering. So this risk library starts as educational content, and then I think more 2 to 6 months into the validation context for our modeling platform. And that's why we are putting so much effort into this and really very heavily rewarding people who do these contributions. But yes, I think nobody is better at talking about a protocol than the people who understand the protocol best, which are either the community members or core team members from that protocol.
Okay, I've got one last point. You might want to look at what Prime Rating are doing if you haven't already done it. They've got rating seasons, and they've got publicly available information about how they do that. So I'm not suggesting theirs is better than how you're doing it, but I'm just saying it's another way. You might want to look at how they're doing it.
Are you talking about Prime DAO?
Yeah. So you've probably seen it. I know Collier's been in touch with them recently.
Yeah, we have a dialogue with them going, and I think there's definitely room for collaboration there. I think we've taken a stance that like we don't want to offer ratings per se. The reason being that like Neil can speak to this better than I can. I think it's great that they're doing that, but I think we don't necessarily want to give like letter grades or like number ratings quite yet, just because I think we're so early in this whole industry that kind of putting a cap, like saying this is the best, is pretty much. Neil, you can speak. On
here's what we wanted. So I think that's a little bit of a different moment. But in terms of letter ratings, what we want to do is we want to have a source of truth for all the methodologies, for all the data we provide, and to say, okay, we are going to, if we decide as Credmark we're going to start doing letter ratings, then we need people to validate that those letter ratings are being generated according to our own methodology. And so that validation part, I think, comes from the community. But I think what you were talking about, Bob, is how they're crowdsourcing some of their information. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. I'll put a link to their season 2 in the chat. Okay, it's publicly available, and you can just see what they're doing. You might want to see what you like and what you don't like, and add it to your your second fortnight of whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sounds great.
That
Thank you
was the
so
only
much.
reason. That was the only reason I mentioned it. But the other point I understand as well. Thanks.
Gotcha. Thanks for that. I think we got a bunch of new people who jumped in like halfway, so I'll just recap this whole thing real quick. The focus of this call is about this community project. If you go to the community call discussion channel, I have shared a bunch of links that are relevant to this project, the first being a blog post. So we have this risk library. We want it to be the best in class place, source of truth for anything regarding DeFi and DeFi risk. We've spent a lot of time structuring it in a way that makes sense. And the emphasis of this community project is the DeFi protocol taxonomy section. So the next link is a link to that taxonomy. You can copy that, fill it out, pick a protocol that you like, and in the risk library chat, you can say, hey, I'm going to do this protocol. You fill it out, you submit it. That leads me to the next link, which is the snapshot vote, where we essentially vote on the committee that will review contributions. So once you submit your content, the review committee will make sure that it passes all our sort of quality control. And then it'll be added to the risk library. You will get credit, anonymously so. We're not going to dox anybody, but you'll get credit and you will receive rewards. So the first thing we ask is that anyone who holds CMK and XCMK vote on this review committee. And then after that, pull that taxonomy down in the risk library chat. And I'll jump in all these different chats and show you all where exactly we want things to be. But please, contribute. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to review how this all went and either keep it going the same way or change the things that need to be changed. Having said that, that's all I've got today. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. You can speak, or if you want to do it, if you want to just be a little more discreet and post in the chat, I'll hold for a few minutes for any questions anyone has, and then if there's no questions, we can wrap it up, and I will post all the relevant details about this project.
And maybe a moment just from my side. If you feel, or so the community, if you feel that maybe some of the protocols we have in the categories are wrong categorized, or so, please make the suggestions as well in the risk library chat. So please feel free to come up with any ideas you have. This is nothing written in stone here. It's just up to you. And we made this initial setup, but I encourage all of you to question that and make suggestions if you feel that this is something that is not correct.
Yeah, that's a great point. We are not trying to say that the way we have done this is correct, but we think we gave it a good effort, and we're obviously open to suggestions otherwise. Lexi, you have something to say?
Yeah, look, guys, someone popped into the Telegram channel and was asking a question about, I don't know if it's here. He asked, is there a way to see how much adoption the risk model have gathered? Transparency too, so that people who are using CMK services can track the risk models.
Yeah, so that's a good point. The question is about, are we going to make the model usage transparent? Neil, can I get you to jump back up and speak to this real quick?
Yeah, we'll be putting out documentation. So you may notice that when you go to this Git book, we're asking people to contribute to the risk library, but there is also a docs section that will be being filled out kind of over the next month and a half as well, as we are getting smart contracts audited, as we're getting the protocol documentation all figured out. the short answer is yes. We are going to be super transparent about which consumers are consuming what models and how those models are getting rewarded for having high consumption. So essentially, we'll be releasing a suite of products over the next 3-ish months that include model developer SDK, NFTs so that you can consume our data. Is that instead of API keys, we've got NFTs. And then we're also creating like a validator class. This is all going to be going into the docs section of this thing. But essentially, absolutely every piece of code that is running on our system will be open source. Every single metadata about how our platform is running. So that includes usage, that includes votes that have been done on models, that includes all the models that have been submitted to our system. Those will all be totally transparent. There's going to be an API in front of that is going to be a free API so that you always know what models exist, what validators exist, what NFTs exist. A lot of this information is going to be even on chain, so it's public in that way. So yeah, transparency is the name of the game as we're trying to set this up so that it is actually legitimately a decentralized data platform that is specializing in risk data.
Cool. And just to give people a transparency on the current situation, right now the only people consuming our API is us because we haven't given it to anybody else. But we will be announcing a few partnerships of people who are going to be consuming the current API in some capacity. So I'm going to wait until we have more details on that. But currently, the only place our API is viewable is on the Risk Terminal, and it will remain that way until we sort of evolve to this next phase of our platform, which Neil just described. All right, I think that's about it. You're going to be getting a bunch of pings from me over the next 10 minutes as I sort of lay the breadcrumbs for where all this stuff's going to happen. So pardon the excessive tagging for the next 10 minutes. But we're really excited about this. We really hope that we get a lot of contributions, and we hope that you guys get kind of rich off of all the CMK you'll get, hopefully. So until next time, have a great day. And yeah, we're always available in the Discord for chatting and just general discourse. So until next time, y'all.